let's say you don't have that much time. You might have had all this time previously at the beginning of quarantine, and now that time has really dwindled down, and you're just trying to kind of stay afloat with your own training. So maybe you went from hour-long sessions, you didn't really have any obligations, so you could carve out that type of time, and now you're down to maybe 20 minutes is the best you got. And what should you focus on? What should you do with those 20 minutes to get the most out of your training, move forward in the best way possible for yourself, but not stretch that time further than you really can right now? So a couple things I want you to focus on as you're going through this is, number one, pick a limitation and attack that limitation. So if you only have 20 minutes, let's focus on that low-hanging fruit of limitation. What is something that just gets in your way and does not allow you to perform at the highest level? For example, I work with a lot of swimmers, triathletes, open water swimmers, for example, and the shoulder becomes a major issue, or the thoracic spine becomes a major issue. So let's attack that weakness for about 20 minutes, working on shoulder range of motion with things like a wall slide, or working through your T-spine with overhead reaching exercises to get a little bit more range of motion out of your ability, out of your body in that overhead position. If you focus on that for 20 minutes a couple times a week, all of a sudden that weakness is going to become a strength, and that's something that is valuable. Or at worst, maybe it doesn't become a strength, but at worst it doesn't get in your way when you're trying to achieve something on the performance side in an actual sport that you enjoy, or an activity that you're trying to get a little bit better in. The next thing you can do is just pick something simple and execute. So one thing I like to do is I'll pick an exercise or two. I might pick a squat variation and maybe a push-up variation, and then I execute those movements to the best of my ability for the time I have. I might just set a running clock, say I have a minute to complete a certain amount of repetitions, then I rest, and then I move on to that next exercise, have a minute, complete a certain amount of repetitions, and rest, and keep going through that cycle. And in 10 minutes alone, I can get through 5 sets of each exercise that way. And that's a great volume for a certain movement. That might even be more volume than you really need to see some sort of result. That allows 10 minutes for me to warm up, 10 minutes for me to execute 2 movements to the best of my ability and get a nice sizable volume that can have a performance effect, and I'm done in 20 minutes. So those are 2 things you can really focus on if you found yourself going from this point where you have all the time in the world to now we're getting back into work, in person, or you're having more obligations on the schedule. Focus on either picking a weakness, attacking that weakness for about 20 minutes if that's what you got, or pick 2 exercises, have a 10-minute warm-up, 10 minutes to focus on those movements, and get the most out of your training with the time you have.